I was starting to say yes to everything. And I
Mm.
was just really burnt out. And I had essentially, without having my own, I'll say brand, I didn't know what to say no to. If I
Yeah.
was good at things, then they just kept giving me more work, which equaled more money. And I thought that was, that was just the path that I had jumped on. And I looked up one day and went, I'm losing it. I have four
Yeah.
children, and I'm working full time, but this is stretching far beyond.
Hello, hello, hello. It's Holly Rustick here with GrantWriting and Funding. I'm super excited to have an amazing, amazing, amazing podcast this week with Erin Davis. And Erin, you actually got referred to me from one of the students, Susan, inside the academy, because you've done some work with her. And I was like, oh my gosh, we need to connect because it's super aligned. And just for those of you who don't know Erin Davis yet, she is the owner and founder of Matchbox Women, and she is a brand strategist and marketing coach as well. So definitely very, very cool. I love marketing things. I love, like, I just did a rebrand. We were just talking about it in the green room, like all of the things, like, but also to know when to do it. And I love that you are also have the nonprofit background and you work a lot with nonprofit professionals who are women. So welcome to the podcast, Erin. Super excited to
Thank
have
you
you.
so much. Yeah, I'm so excited
Yeah.
to be here.
Yeah. So tell us, like, you've been working in not with nonprofits for a while now. Like, tell us your and how did you, yeah, have you always done marketing? Has that always been kind of a side thing you were doing inside nonprofits, or how did you kind of fall into this?
Yeah, marketing has always been my thing. I'm
Yeah.
just kind of a natural communicator. I did my undergrad and my master's in communications, and I went straight out of college into the nonprofit world. And I was kind of the fund development marketing person. I think anybody who's familiar with nonprofits, staff typically wears a lot of hats. I was the marketing person, but I was also helping raise funds and supporting the grant writing. And what I experienced as an employee was that none of those activities were done better than when we had a really solid brand behind us. And
Mm,
so what I started to do was develop brands for, as I moved through different nonprofits, as my interests and my location changed, right, throughout life. I recognized that developing brands created a situation where I could do my job better, and so could everyone else on the team. And over time, as just life changed, I wanted to serve a different community. And so now in Matchbox Women, I'm doing the same thing, but I'm really focused on women who are growing their own businesses, some of which are like the students and clients you serve, and
mhm.
others that are either solopreneurs or small business owners, who need that same, hey, I do my job really well. Like, I know how to serve and deliver on what I'm doing, but I am struggling to communicate it. I'm struggling
Yeah.
to market in ways that attract my ideal clients, help me serve them in the ways that I want to consistently, or how do I tool my team to show up
Yeah.
in the ways that I want them to, so that that message is the same everywhere. So
Mhm.
Matchbox Women was born to be able to provide that service to more women, specifically.
Oh, I love that. I love that so much. And it's kind of the opposite of us grant writers in a lot of ways, is you started with your skills first and then you kind of fell into nonprofits. So I think that's so cool, like, to say the opposite. Like, a lot of us were like, we started nonprofits and we fall into grant writing because it gets put on our plate, but you kind of like fell into the marketing piece that combines it with like the fundraising or online campaigns or
Exactly.
like all of that. Yeah.
Yep,
It's like,
exactly.
ooh.
Exactly.
We can use that. But I love how you talk about it too. And we were talking, like, I just went through a rebrand and it's really helped my brain. Okay. I don't really know how to explain it, but it's like helped my brain think more
Oh, yeah.
strategically clear, right?
Yeah, I mean, I feel like so much of what a brand contains is all stuff that you know either intuitively, or there are things that are happening as a part of your practice or a part of your process in doing your work, but it's not organized into anything that you can kind of grab,
Mhm.
use, or even riff off of, like evolve over time. You just did a rebrand, but you're probably going to want to look at that in a year and go, are we still on track? Is this still
Yeah.
the essence of who I am? You may not change any of the imagery or things like that, but the nuts and bolts, maybe as someone develops their own mission statement, they want to evolve or change that over time. And if you don't have it written, like literally written somewhere, it either gets lost in the ether, you working on a version of it all the time. And so your work and your services are specific. If you have that solid brand foundation that you're working from, you're not having to like go backwards. You just keep doing your
Mm.
job, you just keep doing your work and let that foundation be solid and not having to kind of keep always backtracking and shoring it up.
Right. Yeah, and to be fair, I had my first kind of brand done probably, oh gosh, I don't know, 2017, something like that, right? And that was
Mhm.
like, and it was an interesting process and I liked it, but I didn't feel like it was fully complete. But at the time, it did what it needed to do, right? And that was kind
Mhm.
of like
Mhm.
I had a one-page brand redesign. I had, here's the fonts, here's the color schemes, the Pantones, like all of that. And that was really helpful to get me where I needed because I was just developing my own Canva templates at that time. You know what I mean? Like all of the
Sure.
things. So at least there was a thread of consistency throughout the
Mhm.
marketing. But it was interesting to say like that has been helpful too. Like even just that level, like I tell a lot of people, I'm like, I waited 10 years before I went into like a full photo shoot, like all of the things, right? Like I
Right,
was using
right.
phone
Sure.
pictures still because they're pretty high quality actually, right?
Yeah,
Like
yeah.
phones
Oh,
these days,
absolutely.
like you can do it simple and then you can go like next level, but I would say don't go like full on maybe until you really are clear about what you're doing. Like, what are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, actually, I love that question because I kind of see, and actually, when I transitioned from Davis Communication Group, was where I was, my clients were the nonprofits themselves. When I transitioned from that to Matchbox Women, I did not begin with colors and fonts and that kind of the imagery. And
Yeah.
I kind of see some of those things as like the accessories to your outfit, right? Like,
Yes.
I mean,
Yes.
there those like you and I don't have to have the perfect accessories to have a darn good self, right? Like we
Right.
are
Yeah.
showing up as our best self when all of our internal stuff is good. And that is where the brand comes in. To me, the brand is your origin story, it's your messaging, it's your
Yeah.
mission, your vision, your
Yeah.
values, your value propositions, really defined and articulated services. It's this living document of
Yes.
all of those things. And then, especially for some of your students that are just now building,
Yeah.
having those things kind of either evolving or getting them squared away can be really valuable. And then you can move into a place where you work with a
Yes.
designer to put the beautiful colors that are going to resonate with your ideal clients, to put all those things kind of on top of, but
Yeah.
building that like core things about your business and about who you are and how you're going to do business with the nonprofit clients you're going to be working with. That's their People do not do business with businesses. They do business with people.
Yeah.
And a
Mhm.
brand really personifies the business. That's the humanity of the business. And you really need to define who that human is as you're getting ready to go out and put your best foot forward and tell people why they want to work with you over somebody else in the same space or in the same niche or whatever it be.
I love that so much. And I kind of love like that idea of the accessories because that's how I've always felt about it too. It's like, yeah. And it kind of reminds me of like, if you're getting enough sleep and like eating healthy, like you have like this internal glow, you're getting exercise, like you don't need any makeup.
Absolutely, girl. Yes.
You don't need
I say that
that.
exactly. Exactly.
Yeah.
And that is I love that example because it's exactly right. In fact, in my course and in my work, I lead my clients through a spirit, mind, body series before we even move into the business stuff. And it's
Very
really,
cool.
yeah, I mean, you and I are showing up to business every day and to work every day as a human. Like
Yeah.
we, I mean, we'd love
Yeah.
to just shut the door or silo off, but that's not always an option and that's not always possible. But we need to continue to show up here and do this good work because it is important to us. It's part of our why, right? So
Yeah.
I
Mhm.
lead women through this process and we start to kind of build our muscles so that we
Yeah.
can build the why, how, what of our business and that the messaging really resonates with us. So
Mhm.
on those days when you don't really want to show up or you don't know what to say or you don't know what to do, you've already defined it. And
Yeah.
so that's always there kind of supporting you and it's more sustainable because you built it and it's a part of you. And I mean, it really sets us all apart because the only difference between, I mean, there's thousands of brand strategists and marketing
Yeah.
coaches out there. But what makes me different is me and
Yeah.
how I present it and how I deliver. And same with any of your grant writers. What makes the difference? Sure, absolutely. Some skills and
Yeah.
nuances and credentials and experience that does set you apart. But at the end of the day, those could line up identical with someone else. The difference is you. And that we don't become entrepreneurs or freelancers because we want to be anything less than ourselves, right? We're
Yeah.
searching for and we want something that is the best expression and creates the life that we want. And I have found over, I'm not even going to say the number, it's 20 plus
Mhm.
years that this, having this brand foundation is really a great backbone to build from, whatever that
Oh, yeah.
building might look like.
Oh yeah. And even in the Freelance Grant Writer Academy, we start with what is your why, right? And then we start with reframing your mindset.
Yeah,
So
love
it's
it.
all from like, because I'm like, we have different people that come in. Some people are coming in because they want to retire from a nonprofit. They're at that age where they're just like, I just want a couple of, clients on the side. I want to make some good income, but I want a lot of free time to spend with the grandkids, like all of the things. And then other people come in
Mhm.
and they're like, I've got little ones right now, and I literally can only take a client or two. And then there's other people who
Right.
are like, I want a six-figure plus business. I'm ready to break the glass ceiling and I'm ready to go
Yeah.
full on, but still balance my time. Like there's so many different whys. So as we show up, as you said, it's like, we also need to understand who we are and why we're starting this business, because you can get derailed, as an entrepreneur.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
we can start to
Yeah.
love our business so much. Like we're like, I'm working all hours. Now I'm working more than I was in the nonprofit. What happened? Like,
Right, right. And
yeah.
sometimes we can also get busy in the busy work that we
Yeah.
enjoy. And
Yeah.
sometimes we'll lose focus
Mhm.
and maybe we're not doing as much lead generation or maybe we're not doing the nurturing that we should be doing in our
Yeah.
marketing. But if
Are
we've got
charging
a
enough.
brand,
Yep.
right, most
Yeah.
definitely. But if we've
Mhm.
so part of a brand strategy is deciding what your goals are. And
Yeah.
if you have those written down and you know what you're going back on, then you're like, okay, wait a minute. This is what I want to do, or I'm enjoying
Yeah.
this part, but I need to remember that I've got a goal and I've got
Yeah.
to attract this. And my services demand or deserve,
Yeah.
XYZ. And that brand houses all of that. And
Right.
it can, help just kind of keep you going even when you're,
Yeah.
you know, what you get derailed or yeah, you
Yeah.
end up working more hours than you ever were when you were an employee.
Yeah, you're like, "Wait, wait, wait." But yeah, even
Yeah.
this, I love how it's like brand people just think colors, right? They think logos. But I love how we're
Mhm.
going peeling back the layers, because one of the most powerful things actually in the Freelance Grant Writer Academy is we call it our unique industry concept. We're changing that actually to change statement, so it's a little bit easier. But what it
Mhm.
does is, and even people are like, Holly, look at my services, look at my pricing, because we do reviews on that. And we do value-based pricing so people can put that
Okay.
together and then submit it for reviews. But I always
Love it.
say, if you didn't submit your UIC or your change statement, I can't even help you right now. You need to do that first. Like make sure that's there. And what that component is it's who you're going to serve, what your skill is, what your tool is to deliver that. And then we even go into what is your angle, and then what is your offer promise, and what is the transformation. So you
I
need
love
to
it.
get so clear on that. And once you have that, like I've told everybody, like once you have that, you can start asking questions about that. What would my who have a question about my skill? What would they have a
Mhm.
question about my tool, right? What would be some objections about my service offer promise, right? And all of that is going to give you content to communicate, right?
Love
Like,
it.
yeah.
Absolutely.
And when you
We
have
are
that, you can
on the
go
same
get a
pad,
brand
on the
strategist to
same
get your
page.
pretties. Yeah, 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 yeah. Yeah, because once you have that, we know then if your pricing makes sense. Because if you're like, well, I charge $10,000 a month, but I'm like, you're serving startups. Your who is a startup nonprofit. You ain't gonna sell
Right.
that.
You're not, you're out of
Yeah.
alignment.
Yeah, you're out of alignment. And if you're just offering foundation grants, like that's not gonna really be where you can sell that. So we need to understand that. And in that too, having that kind of component for my business has been the thing that has helped me write all of the emails, all the objections, overcome
Yes.
objections in sales calls, like
Mhm.
all of the things. And I can give that to my brand strategist, right? And then
Yeah.
she knows, okay, this is how we want you to kind of show up in this photo shoot or whatever, because she
Yeah, it
understands
informs all of
that.
your content, right?
Yeah,
It helps
exactly.
you, it all of life becomes a content opportunity because it's backed by the messaging and that all of those pieces of the brand that will help you connect it to what you're doing so that you're consistent and people go, oh, I recognize that. Oh, I'm hearing the same message over and over again. And I think
Yeah.
back when I was doing fundraising, it was, I think they called it 7 touches until you
Yeah.
might get a response. I
Yeah.
think the number now with social media is probably in the hundreds, who knows, maybe it's in the thousands. And you would need to have that many touches, but that consistency, that saying the same thing over again doesn't start your touches over, right? You're not
Right.
going back to square one because now you're,
Right.
singing a new song or saying something different. It's all cohesive and together. And that
Mhm.
messaging consistency is you've got to do that to be able to stand out in kind of a sea of noise as we're all
Yeah.
functioning in.
That's so good. Yeah, it's so good to say, yeah, just keep it consistent, right? And a lot of people see the like, they'll say, okay, here's my change statement. I serve startup nonprofits, let's say in the environmental sector, and I go to their website to do a website review, and I'm like, there's no pictures about like environment. There's nothing that or whatever. There's no connection,
Yeah, you're not
right? It's
resonating.
yeah, we're
Yeah.
not resonating, and not that you need to have like certain stock photos or all of that, but it that's where I think maybe some of those accessories then, if you don't have a firm
Mhm.
foundation of what you're doing, it gets confusing because you might be like, well, I like these colors, or I like this imagery, or I like this, and that's nice, but is it connecting to what
Right.
you're trying to
Yeah.
communicate,
Yeah.
right? Do
Yeah,
you find that
exactly.
people do that a lot? Like they just want to start with the fluffy, they want to start with the pretty, the
Yeah, I think people more than that's what they want to do, I think that's what they think they need to do. So people want
mm,
to have an image, oh, I need to have a perfect logo or I need to have like the perfect imagery and that's what I need to get squared away. Whereas I think those things can come second.
yeah,
And
yeah,
I don't think those are the first thing, especially with a lot of your clients who are starting out brand new. You don't need to run out and make sure that you have the perfect logo. What you
no,
need is the perfect foundation. And that
yes.
foundation starts with you and it starts with all the content and those core brand pieces. The rest will
Yeah.
come.
I love that so much. And yeah, so I just have a question too. So I love that you started in nonprofits, you've been with nonprofits, but then you said, then I switched and I really wanted to serve women entrepreneurs and women in nonprofit consultancy. Like, why was that switch? Can you just like share with us? Because I love that.
Oh
Yeah.
yeah, yeah. I had really gotten to a place and I don't know if it was because it was in nonprofit or if it was just, working for larger businesses. I was starting to say yes to everything. And I
Mm,
was just really burnt out. And I had essentially without having my own, I'll say brand, I didn't know what to say no to. If I
yeah.
was good at things, then they just kept giving me more work, which equaled more money and I thought that was, that was just the path that I had jumped on. And I looked up one day and went, I'm losing it. I have 4 children, and I'm working full time, but this is stretching far beyond. And you and I both have probably our own community of friends, and I started to realize that so many women were trying to support their families, have some autonomy, grow what's important to them, and serve their own communities. And I was like, I have a skill that these women sitting right around me need, but it's not part of my business. It's not a part of my business model, so I didn't have a vehicle to do that.
Mhm.
So really I just kind of I was burnt out. I think just in the purest sense, I was like too much and I don't know how to say no in this space anymore. And
Mhm.
so honestly, I just created a new space, but it was same skills, same,
Yeah.
tested and true methods that were working, but it was in a different vehicle. And
Yeah.
so
For a different
yeah,
who. You have
yeah,
to throw it
yeah,
out.
and I
It's a
and I
different
love
who.
serving women who are trying to do the same thing that I am, better their
Yes.
family, create a better world, work for causes that are important to them, and earn a good living while I do it. So,
I love that. And then you've created a course and then you also do coaching. So
mhm.
can you just kind of talk about your business model for a minute?
Yeah, so I have a self-directed kind of DIY course.
Mhm.
So there's teaching modules and workbooks, and then at the end you create your own brand guide. And then I have a version where you can do that alongside of me. So it's got regular coaching along with it. And then I have a third offer where it's just more custom. So we
Yeah.
work together and decide what are the done for you or the done together pieces that you want to, that are most important to you.
And I love that. Has also changing that strategy. Was that the same one you had with nonprofits before, or was it have you changed it up a little bit?
No, so what I when I was working for nonprofits, I went in and I did everything. So
Okay,
I
you were the
executed
service
on
provider.
all the things. Yeah, I was
Yeah,
completely like, yeah, I was the done for you completely.
yeah,
But that's not as accessible to everybody because that
yeah,
costs more money, right? If I'm doing it
right,
all, it costs more money. So the format of being able to allow people to join a course and do it in their own time and in their own, space. And I'm super accessible by email. So even if someone
yeah,
buys the DIY course, like I love being available and I don't like to gatekeep
yeah.
information. And so
Right, right, right.
I want to be accessible. So that is the most accessible option.
Mhm.
To be able to get people in and doing something. And then there's the option to do it alongside me in the course format, because that's the proven method that I spent 20 plus years using.
Right.
And so, yeah, or there's just the we'll figure it out together method.
And I love how you repositioned, and this is for all you freelance grant writers to be listening to right now to listen to what she did. She did direct service providing, right, for these larger organizations, and that who y'all know nonprofits are busy AF, and so she needs to be in there doing it, right? But then she repositioned her who, right? She knows that these women entrepreneurs, they're going to be a little bit more motivated to do things on their own. They're going to be looking at their cash a little bit harder, right? But she gives them options in case they also need that support. So I think that was so smart of how you repositioned your business model, because based on your who, and then of course you're changing your offer promise, the transformation, and all of the things, but really understanding that that's brand awareness to me, right?
Yeah,
Really
yeah,
understanding that.
yeah.
So I think that's so smart. And I just, yeah. So where can people find you? I'm so excited now. Where can people find
Yeah, matchboxwomen.com. You can find, I've got a number of free resources that are just useful guides and workbooks. That's matchboxwomen.com/free-resources. I have a weekly email and it's kind of my favorite place to be. There's an easy sign up on my website. There's no strings. I just love to communicate. And like I mentioned, back and forth on email is one of my favorite places to communicate and
Me
share. And
too.
I share
I'm an
either
email
stories or
girl.
tips. Yeah, me
Yep.
too.
I'm an email
Me
girl all
too.
the way. And even my weekly email that I go out on Thursdays, that's what my OBM, my online business manager, they just redo that into carousels. And my brand design
Oh,
has already had
perfect.
the,
Yeah,
yeah. And
for
then
your
I'll do
social.
a reel
Yeah.
on that. Yeah, I do a reel on that, like all the
Yeah,
things.
we could do a
It's
whole nother thing on repurposing content, and that would be a really fun
yes,
conversation.
yes.
But yeah, yeah. I mean,
So
this
good.
right here, this creates a lot of opportunities for both of us, right? There's so
Yeah,
much
a lot
repurposing
of
in a
content.
podcast or a blog or an email. And yeah, so
Oh yeah,
love
I'll
it.
have to have you back on for repurposing.
Yeah,
That's like one of
yeah.
my favorite things, like in marketing to do, like and talk
Bang
about.
for buck, girl. Bang for buck.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes, yes. And time, like I love that. So
Yeah.
yeah, so this has been so great. I know this is a shorter episode, but
Yeah.
I gotta get in another call
No, it's
today. But
great. Yep.
yeah, I really appreciate you coming on the podcast and sharing about this. Like this is so important for people to know about. So thank you so much, Erin. We'll definitely have to have you back on for
Thank
repurposing.
you.
Yeah, and we'll have all of your links in the show notes. Anything else you want to tell our listeners before we close out today?
I would love to connect. If anything that we've talked about sounds interesting, or you're just needing somebody else to talk about marketing or brand with, I'm here for it. So sign up for my email and let's chat.
Love it so much. Thanks so much, Erin. We'll have you back on. We'll see you soon.
Okay. Thanks, Holly.
Bye bye.